Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. I'm your host, Hayat. Today, first video we're diving into 5 high-stakes NBA matchups on February 22nd, and I'm breaking down every angle exactly how I do on camera, thinking out loud, connecting the dots, weighing momentum, travel, injuries, rotations, and matchup history. This isn't sugar-coated, it's pure analysis and opinion. Nothing's guaranteed, no promises, just me walking you through how these games could realistically play out if everything unfolds like the data and situations suggest. Buckle up, because some of these spots have crazy narratives that might surprise you. Alright, let's jump in and start connecting the dots. Early game we have Cleveland Cavaliers vs OKC Thunder. The lean here is OKC +1 and I also lean under 223.5. Let me walk through why. So I'm looking at this spot and I just keep circling back to the number first because the Cavs are a short road favorite, and that's what jumps out immediately. Cleveland Cavaliers coming off the beatdown over the Nets, Thunder coming off a win against the Nets too, and what's funny is I cashed both of those first half as free picks on YouTube. So I've been dialed into both of these teams rhythm-wise. But now we get the rematch from a month ago where Thunder had the 32-point win. And that's not a small number, that's not a fluky 6 or 8 point swing, that's 32. And on top of that OKC has won 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings. That's not random, that's not noise, that's something. Then I layer in that OKC is 23-6 at home this season. 23-6, that's elite. And now they're priced as the dogs. That's the part one can't shake. They're 23-6 at home this season and they're the dogs. Of course, we know SGA is out, and that matters, I'm not dismissing that. SGA is out. But even with SGA is out, when I look at the metrics, OKC is described as the better, stronger team. And if we're talking units, their defense is going to be the best unit on the floor. That's the identity piece for me. If this matchup plays out like a possession-by-possession grind, which I think it might because the game is expected to have an intense playoff atmosphere, then what connects for me is defense travels, defense stabilizes, defense keeps you inside numbers like +1. Now Struss is out too, and Moy is questionable. Struss is out, Moy is questionable, so we have to account for that. Struss being out puts more cover and win equity on Mitchell. That's real. That shifts usage. That shifts late game shot distribution. But one path I see here is OKC's defense, which is described as the best unit on the floor, forcing Cleveland Cavaliers into tough half-court possessions. And if this becomes the lockdown game it's expected to be, that intense playoff atmosphere type of game, then every single point matters. Every single possession matters. And when I can grab OKC +1 at home where they're 23-6 at home this season, where they've won 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings, where they won the previous meeting by 32 points, I just can't get to Cleveland Cavaliers being the right side at this price. And then I think about the total. Under 223.5. If this matchup plays out like a defensive chess match, if SGA is out slows OKC's offensive ceiling a bit, if Struss is out tightens Cleveland Cavaliers rotation and leans heavier on Mitchell, if this truly has that intense playoff atmosphere feel, then under 223.5 makes sense in the same script. Because a lockdown game and a short number like +1 kind of correlate in my head. I don't see a track meet script here. I see half court. I see defense. I see long possessions. I see tension. So yeah, I keep coming back to it. They're 23-6 at home this season. They've won 5 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings. They won the previous meeting by 32 points. They're priced as the dogs. SGA is out, Struss is out, Moy is questionable, but the defense is the best unit on the floor. In a game expected to have an intense playoff atmosphere and be a lockdown game, I can't ignore that. Okay, the lean sticks at OKC +1 and I also lean under 223.5. Next game we have Boston Celtics vs Los Angeles Lakers. The lean here is Boston Celtics. Let me walk through why. I keep going back to that December 5th of 2025 meeting in Boston where the Celtics were laying -8.5 and they won by 21. And yeah, I know there was no LeBron and no Luka in that game, and that matters. It absolutely matters, but I'm not just looking at the margin, I'm looking at how it happened. If this matchup plays out like that one did, where Boston's defense dictates everything early, it won't matter that it's a different arena this time. The Lakers are healthier now. Luka scored 38 in their last game against the Clippers, and I did see that Lakers minus 6.5 spot where they won by 3, so even when Luka puts up 38, they're not necessarily blowing teams out. That sticks with me. What connects for me is that Boston sits in the second spot in the East at 36-19 straight up. They've won 8 of their last 10, and in their last 10 games only one opponent scored over 115 points. That's not random. That's structure. That's defense traveling. And a lot of these games, opponents are scoring less than 100 points. Less than 100. That's suffocating. And I know the Lakers are great ATS at home and great straight up at home. I'm not ignoring that, because fading that profile is uncomfortable, but Boston just won by 11 versus Warriors and they're covering spreads consistently, and that defensive trend isn't fluky. One path I see here is Boston slowing this thing down, forcing half-court possessions, and then it comes down to the three-point line. The Celtics' defense is difference maker, Celtics' three-point shooting critical factor, that's the equation. If they're even competent from 3, not lights out, just competent, their defensive floor gives them margin. The Lakers might be healthier, but health doesn't automatically override an opponent that has won 8 of 10 and allowed only one team over 115 in that span. So I'm weighing the December 5 of 2025 game, the minus 8.5 number, the 21-point win, the 38 from Luka in a 3-point win laying minus 6.5, the 36-19 record, second spot in the East, the 8 of 10, the one opponent over 115, the sub-100 defensive performances, the 11-point win versus Warriors. The great ATS at home for Lakers, and I keep landing in the same spot. If Boston's defense shows up and they hit enough threes, they control this. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Boston Celtics. Let's move to next game, Denver Nuggets versus Golden State Warriors. The lean here is Denver Nuggets. Let me think this through out loud because the Warriors without Steph and without Jimmy just look incomplete. Steph's right knee is going to be re-evaluated in 10 days and he's out for a few games, so we're not projecting him in here, and without him, the scoring gravity changes everything. In their last game, the leading scorers were Yui Santos and DeAnthony Melton, and Draymond Green played 18 minutes, went 0 for 7, and had 0 points. 0. That's not sustainable offense. If this matchup plays out like that, where Golden State is searching for half-court creation, I don't know how they keep pace with a Denver team that just won by 54 on the road against the Portland Trailblazers. 54. And they put up 157 in that game, on the back end of a back-to-back. That's absurd offensive output in a fatigue spot. So what connects for me is contrast. Golden State without Steph, right knee re-evaluated in 10 days, out for a few games, no Jimmy, Draymond 18 minutes, 0 for 7, 0 points, leading scorers Yui Santos and DeAnthony Melton, versus Denver coming off a 54-point road win, scoring 157, on a back-to-back. One path I see here is Denver leaning into that offensive rhythm, punishing every empty possession from Golden State. The betting angle mentioned is fade Warriors without Steph, Nuggets coming off dominant performance, Nuggets preferred side, and it lines up with the numbers I'm staring at. If Golden State can't manufacture efficient offense without Steph and Jimmy, and if Draymond is giving you 0 for 7 and 0 points in 18 minutes, the gap widens quickly. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Sometimes it's that simple. One team is short-handed and getting re-evaluation timelines of 10 days, the other just dropped 157 and won by 54 on the road in a back-to-back spot. If that momentum carries even partially, this tilts heavily. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Denver Nuggets. Quick pause, if you've got an even one lean or insight that clicked so far, smash that like button. It shows me these full slate breakdowns are worth doing. And if you want to help the channel grow, hit subscribe too. It takes a second, but it seriously helps me keep delivering these deep dives. Trust me, we've got more of these coming, and you don't want to miss them. Let's get back to the slate. Next game here is Milwaukee Bucks versus Toronto Raptors. The lean here is Toronto Raptors. Let me walk through why. I keep staring at 24-30 and 25-29 against the number for the Milwaukee Bucks and I'm trying to talk myself into upside, but if this matchup plays out like a step up in class spot, I don't know how I get there with that profile. Yes, they just had a 139-118 win over New Orleans, and I give them credit because that's a game they needed, you can't slip in that spot, but what connects for me is sustainability. Toronto is sitting at 33-23 and 29-27 against the number, and they're coming off a 110-1 win over Chicago. So I'm looking at trajectory versus treadwater energy. And then the Giannis Antetokounmpo layer matters. At the All-Star break he said he feels healthy, feels close to 100%, but he's still working back through the injury process, and the assumption stated is Giannis is going to miss another game. If this matchup plays out with Giannis still out, I'm evaluating Milwaukee without that anchor. Would it shock me if he popped up? No, but I have to go off the assumption that he misses another game. On the other side, the Raptors injury report shows no big names on the injury report from what was seen. That matters because availability stabilizes rotation. Then I think about the Raptors' core players mentioned, Ingram, Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, and if those four are aligned and healthy, that's functional balance. Toronto has won the last 2 meetings and covered both meetings. That's not random noise, that's a matchup comfort note. One path I see here is Toronto dictating tempo early, leaning on that continuity, especially if Milwaukee is still waiting on Giannis to fully return. And then the market context, Toronto laying points on the road. Raptors have been a decent road favorite this year. That tells me this isn't some wild overpricing, this is a role they've handled. If Milwaukee at 24-30 and 25-29 against the number is being asked to beat a 33-23, 29-27 against the number team that has won the last 2 meetings and covered both. And possibly without Giannis, who feels close to 100% but is still working back and assumed to miss another game, I have to respect that direction. What connects for me is health plus recent head-to-head plus record gap. So yeah, the lean here is Toronto Raptors. Next game we have Philadelphia 76ers versus Minnesota Timberwolves. The lean here is Philadelphia 76ers. Let me think this through because Minnesota is 35-22 and 25-32 against the number, and they're coming off a 122-11 win over Dallas Mavericks. They led by as many as 15 at the end of the first quarter, and it was a double-digit win, but they did not get the cover. That detail sticks with me because it tells me something about finishing discipline. Dallas was starting AB team lineup, with Chris Middleton and Daniel Gafford mentioned, and Dallas had a ton of players scoring double figures, so it wasn't like Minnesota suffocated them for 48 minutes. Anthony Edwards had 40 points, Rudy Gobert had a double-double with 22 points and 17 rebounds, Naz Reid had 21 points off the bench. Those are big stat lines. But Julius Randle went 4 of 15 from the floor for 13 points, and Jaden McDaniels had 7 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 of 11 shooting. If this matchup plays out like Minnesota needing hyper-efficiency from Edwards again, is that repeatable? That's the question I keep asking myself. On the other side, Joel Embiid is dealing with injury or injury management, and Paul George has a suspension. So it's not like Philadelphia 76ers are clean. But what connects for me is how they've functioned in these spots. They are the best team in NBA on the second half of a back-to-back this season at 9-1 against the spread. That's not a small sample blip. As a road underdog, they are 8-6 against the number. And yes, it's noted they're a better road favorite than road underdog, but 8-6 against the number is still competitive. Then I see the Timberwolves moneyline referenced at -260 and I immediately ask myself about price versus trust. If this matchup plays out tight late, do I trust Minnesota to justify -260 given they just had a 122-11 win where they led by 15 after one quarter and still did not get the cover? One path I see here is Philadelphia leaning into that 9-1 against the spread identity on the second half of a back-to-back, even with Embiid in injury management. And Paul George suspended, because they've been in these spots before. If Minnesota needs another 40 from Anthony Edwards, 22 and 17 from Rudy Gobert, 21 off the bench from Naz Reid, while cleaning up 4 of 15 and 3 of 11 shooting nights from key pieces, that's a lot of alignment. I keep circling back to the 9-1 against the spread, the 8-6 against the number is a road underdog, and the -260 reference. And I see volatility. What connects for me is resilience plus situational strength. So yeah, the lean here is Philadelphia 76ers. Alright, that wraps it up for all 5 matchups on February 22nd. Remember, this is analysis and opinion only, nothing guaranteed. Just me walking through the situations, stats, and trends, and how these games could play out if the scenarios line up like we see on paper. I want to hear from you. Drop a Z in the comments and tell me which game you're watching closest, which lean stood out, or if you're seeing the slate differently. More deep dive breakdowns are coming soon, same raw format, same thinking out loud style. Stay locked in, and let's keep breaking down the game together.